This is She Fascinates Me, a podcast about women who are living with intention, curiosity, and heart. I'm Julie Silber, and in each episode, I'm bringing you conversations with women who inspire fascination in all its forms. Before we dive into this episode, a quick note. Here on She Fascinates Me, we love to explore all things wellness, reinvention, and personal growth. But nothing you hear on this show should ever replace professional medical advice. Always consult your own doctor or qualified health provider before making changes to your health or your health routine. There's so much information out there right now about menopause, whether you're in it, approaching it, or just trying to understand what's ahead. It can feel overwhelming, confusing, and honestly a little anxiety-producing. Today's conversation is meant to bring you some comfort. There are solutions. There are thoughtful, personalized approaches to care. And there are physicians like Dr. Melissa Parker who truly take the time to dig deep, listen carefully, and build plans that not only address symptoms, but help optimize your health, energy, and longevity. If you've been feeling unsure or overwhelmed, my hope is that this conversation helps you exhale just a little. Well, hello, and welcome to She Fascinates Me. I'm your host, Julie Silber, and today I'm with my new friend, Dr. Melissa Parker of Big Sky Anti-Aging. Hello and welcome.
Good morning, my friend. I'm happy to see you this morning.
Great to see you too. So I'm going to start with something silly because sometimes I like to roll that way. What is it like to be a board-certified OB-GYN at a cocktail party?
Girl, that was a great question. I'm usually the one telling all the stories from residency that were absolutely crazy and unbelievable. And yet I also get asked by a lot of the men, my guy friends at cocktail parties, questions about their wives.
Okay.
So it's
That's
fun
funny.
for me and it's fun for everybody.
Do you get cornered by women who just like give you TMI?
Well, you know what? I do, but I actually love what I do. And
Yeah.
I often find that women, take that opportunity and apologize knowing that we're kind of out and about, but it doesn't bother me. I love doing it.
Yeah, it's special because I mean your expertise, it's so intimate and special and important, and obviously you're very generous with that, so it's sweet. It made me think about how the perception might be, oh my gosh, I can never talk to a doctor about something personal going on with me when out in public, but you have such a kind heart, so just had to go there with you. I'm so glad you could take the time to be with us today because women in middle age are going through a lot of things, and you are here to help. And what fascinates me about you is that you've got solutions and you are set up to deliver care in such a personalized way, and spending actual real time in integrative medicine with women who need a lot of help with the body changes that they're experiencing.
I think, again, I've shared with you that, I've been practicing for 26 years and I just feel so blessed to be in the profession that I'm in, kind of walking that cycle with a woman, whether it's the children I've delivered that are now 21 years old or the women entering perimenopause and menopause. It's just a very rewarding career.
Yes, for sure. And I'd love to talk about that. So, board certified OB-GYN for 26 years, going from a practice that was, just such a busy practice. I think you mentioned 35 to 40 patients a day sometimes, and you used
Correct.
the ping pong ball analogy. Explain that.
Yeah, basically, with the way a practice is set up, kind of every provider has to cover, we'll call it the overhead. So there's actually a business side of being a physician that I don't know that patients understand. So they kind of are like, I don't understand why you have to see so many people in one day, but there's a business side of why we do. And that's part of the reason that I left is I wasn't feeling fulfilled with those quick, short visits, bouncing from pregnant to a 21-year-old needing birth control, again, to a woman who needs a little bit more of my time.
For sure. And so, how gratifying it must feel to be in that mode. How drastically has it changed the way you deliver care? Can you kind of paint a picture of the comparison? Like, for example, how long were the average interactions in the OB-GYN practice versus the amount of time you might spend on a visit with a woman in the atmosphere that you have created at Big Sky?
A couple of things. The environment I created has shifted from this sterile exam room to creating a place where there's a sofa and I have a desk, and it's more of an intimate setting. So
Hmm.
I find my patients feeling very comfortable, settled in. A visit before would have been after I did the routine stuff, and they would want to ask me questions about, symptoms that were occurring to them. I mean, probably I had a total of 15 minutes to do it all.
Mm.
And now I end up spending at least an hour, if not an hour and a half. Just we dive deep
Yes.
into what she's experiencing. And I also, a passion of mine is just educating her, about her body, about the science. So it's a win-win. I feel rewarded
Yeah.
doing this, and they are very grateful, is
Okay.
what I've been finding.
So, how did you discover integrative medicine? Can you go back to that?
Being a woman, obviously, and I'm in menopause, 57 years old, but when I was about 46, 47 years old, I was noticing these changes happening to myself.
Mhm.
And so I was my own best advocate, kind of researching what was out there, understanding what hormone changes meant. Um, and that took me even a little bit further when I was doing my own research about understanding parts of cellular aging. And again, the research that is evolving in the longevity world. So for myself, I started attending some of these anti aging longevity conferences. And the more I was taking notes there for myself, I would leave every time going, why am I not sharing this with women?
Gosh.
So that was kind of the evolution of like, I am unfulfilled as my role as an OB-GYN. It's a wonderful career, but at this point in my life, I was feeling unfulfilled, and I was like, I've
Okay.
got to get this word out.
Yeah, and you felt like you were kind of keeping a secret. That drive to,
Correct.
wow, I really want to share this information with women,
Yep.
was a really big piece for you. Okay.
Yeah.
So, for someone like myself, who, as you know, I'm just about to get started working with you, but all along, here I am, 53 years old, and I've only been seen by traditional doctors in a traditional doctor's office setting. I've never had like a deeper, closer look at a lot of labs, for example. But before I ever met you, I kind of put functional medicine, integrative, naturopath in the same bucket, and that was just out of pure ignorance on my own part. Um, there's a distinction though, for sure. So can you explain that? Because if there are people out there who think, oh, if I go see someone in integrative or functional, I'm just going to get a bunch of supplements. There is so much more to it than that. And I'd love for you to be able to clarify that.
Yeah, and that's a great question. I mean, um, I do find that I'm able to offer broader testing because I am not going necessarily through insurance, which I really hope that that will change, for
Hmm.
the wellness of everyone. Um, but I think part of functional medicine is offering broader kind of evaluation, and that could be blood testing evaluation that your standard primary care maybe just feels very limited that they have to stay within the box.
Yeah.
Um, and in addition, kind of offering things that like one wouldn't necessarily, again, primary care kind of delve into, which is understanding gut health.
Okay.
um, and functional also kind of goes into the not just broader evaluation, but again, sharing kind of, maybe sharing not the word, but educating is
Hmm.
how I look at it, the patient, as to what is actually happening in their bodies. So,
Okay.
so I kind of take naturopath, maybe they're kind of following that, but some of them won't combine Western medicine because there is a role for medication for certain conditions, but
Sure.
kind of balancing that with, there's some holistic things that could be lifestyle suggestions, and then just guidance that may include some supplements over medication. So I think functional is a little bit of a balance of Eastern and Western medicine.
So for you, bringing to the table 26 years of board certified traditional OB-GYN approach to functional is just a beautiful marriage of care
Absolutely.
qualifications. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And especially since my primary focus is women, there are functional integrative physicians out there that maybe aren't OB-GYNs. I just happen to be an OB-GYN who wanted to add this to the scope of my practice. But it has been beautiful because of that background that I have. to combine that. Yeah, combine that with a lot of her symptoms that she's experiencing as she's transitioning.
So certainly when it comes to healthcare, we have choices, we have options, but for most of us, we do want to take the route of what's covered by insurance first. And I know
Correct.
there are definitely a lot of women who might wish they had more time with their doctor, or might feel confused about what's being prescribed, or might not be clear on how to advocate for themselves in that type of setting, because it is like a foreign language for a lot of us. I mean, we're not medically trained, we're coming to y'all for help. And so if we're feeling bad, and if we're doing all this reading and deep diving on the internet about hormones and all of that, we're coming to you pretty confused and pretty overloaded with information. So if you have the ability to pursue functional or integrative, which is not covered by insurance, it's kind of putting a price on your health, I guess, right? But it can be so
Correct.
efficient. I feel like for a lot of women, they've probably been on somewhat of a gerbil wheel trying to get things figured out by paying the $40 copay here and there and multiple visits and trying to fine
Right.
tune. So it seems to me with the vast number of labs that you order for a patient that you can really kind of get to the heart of the matter a whole lot quicker. And might it cost more? Yes, but we have one life to live. We only have so much time. We want to feel better sooner than later. So to me, that's the cost benefit analysis, right?
And I think that circles back when you were kind of alluding to what's the advantage of a functional or integrative provider. Um, it's really, to me, quality of time.
Yes.
It's the time. It takes time to gather the history. It takes time to review all the labs that come back. And like I said, just when I was in my standard practice, as much as I wanted to share some things with her, I didn't have the time. It's just a
Yes.
catch 22. So
Yeah.
she should be able to get some hormone discussions in with her OB-GYN. Absolutely, that should be standard. um as far as the bigger picture, her total wellness, that is where she might choose to have a separate physician to kind of tie it all together.
Would you be willing to share the story, Melissa, that you shared with me that I thought was so impactful, and it gave me a whole lot of empathy for what an OB-GYN goes through on the day to day? You told the story about how from time to time, if you walked into a patient's room late, sometimes significantly late, and if that was a new patient who didn't know you, and if she would get upset with you, what that scenario was. Can you explain it? Because it was just, boy, I'd never really thought of it that way, and I want people to hear it.
And thank you for bringing that up,
Yeah.
because there is another side for patients as well to understand what is going on, through our day. But, part of the scope of an OB-GYN is one room, as I mentioned, might be someone pregnant, and it's just a regular OB visit, and everything's going great. The next room I might go to, as I mentioned, might be the 21-year-old and quick, easy, how are you? The next room I might go to is a woman who didn't feel the baby move. And now
Hmm.
I have to take her to the ultrasound room only to realize the baby's lost its heartbeat.
Yes.
And that can happen at any stage in the pregnancy. So that now takes me into a whole emotional discussion that's extremely upsetting for both of us,
Yes.
she and I. And now I'm in the room with her, for an extra 40 minutes trying to
Hmm.
put together a plan. Then you go to the room who would have been after her, to the new patient who is fuming because she's been
Yeah.
waiting, for 45
Fuming,
minutes.
fuming, wearing a paper sheet, naked underneath.
I know, I know, I know. And
Yes.
even with that, because we can't share what's happening,
Yes.
we try and have the nursing staff say she's running a little late, she'll be in. Um, but my patients who know me, I just speak for my relationship. They are like, I've literally had them say, if I apologize, I'm sorry. They're like, it's okay. I'll wait for you.
Yes.
And if
Yes.
and if it's a new patient who doesn't really know, the relationship, I really want to share with what had happened, but I really can't. So I just
Right.
apologize. So
But it's
something
it's
to
just
know that,
so interesting because I mean the job that you do, it involves
yeah,
so much so much emotion and ups too. I mean, you shared the story too of a woman who would come to you who had been trying for so long, and then she gets good news with you, and then that's
Yes.
a visit that you can't rush out of the room from. You need to also
No.
celebrate. So what an emotional roller coaster, my goodness, for 26 years of doing that. Did you feel like you thrived in that mode, or was it kind of hard to manage?
Yes, it was emotionally um taxing at times, you
Okay.
know. I mean, I was up, I'm down, I'm up, I'm down. You know, my day had sometimes 40 different emotions, you know, going on.
Wow.
Um, but specifically, you know, being on labor and delivery is
Hmm.
taking it to a whole nother level. I mean, I could have four patients in labor and three absolutely enjoyable, beautiful deliveries. You know, bringing this little soul, you know, into the
Yes.
world, sharing that moment with these women, um, and then have stories where we end up having a hemorrhage occurring, rushing to the OR, with me sitting on the bed with her as we're rolling
Wow.
all the way to the OR,
Oh
trying
my
to
gosh.
calm her down,
That gives me
explain to
chills
her
to
what's
think about.
happening.
Mm.
Yes, and have her lay on that C-section table looking up at me saying, please don't, like, it makes me emotional, but
Yeah.
please don't let me die, or
Oh.
make sure my baby's okay. So those kind of days, you know, were very emotionally up and down too. But again, I wouldn't change it,
Hmm.
um, because they're counting on you, and and um and and I loved it. I love
Yeah.
it, and I still love it. So
Gosh, it just makes me think on a whole other level of fascination with what you do and what you've done and what you've accomplished. You've just got so many fibers to your story of what you've done to support
yeah, for
women
sure.
in such an intense way through the biggest milestones of their lives. And
Yeah,
it
for
makes me
sure.
very happy for you that you get to approach your business, your profession, your connection with women in such a meaningful way through this new practice. So
Yeah,
let's
thank you.
segue over to who is integrative medicine best for?
My practice actually still is labeled. I was focusing on women 35 years old on up, kind of targeting where I believe the hormones are changing, and
Hmm.
then adding in like the beginning of her total wellness journey. But in this journey, this past year of being with my new practice, after seeing women, having them go through this whole evaluation, putting a plan of care together, after a year of taking care of these women who, you know, have had uh, usually wonderful results with the evaluation, the hormone balance, feeling better, getting this total wellness picture and journey going. I've had them ask me, will you see my daughter? Ponder that for a minute or two and realize, like, why would I not do for the daughter
Yeah.
what I'm doing for the mother? And I have a 22-year-old daughter, and that made me even decide to do this whole journey that I do with my older patients with my own daughter. And what I've found is they actually soak it up, believe it or not. Like, they listen. They now are becoming educated in their own health and what's going on. And so now I am open to seeing, you know, these girls, probably 21, you know, on up.
Well,
For the same purpose.
I love that. And I feel like their generation is one of doing deep dive research. I mean, for us, when we were growing up, we had the Encyclopedia Britannica. And I mean, this, this group of young women, they learn so much in so much detail because they're getting to take in the information in such robust platforms, or you know what I mean, with the YouTube deep dives. My friend calls it YouTube University. I mean, they're just
Yeah,
really diving deep and then following vloggers and blogs and
absolutely.
influencers. And I mean, certainly, I'm sure a lot of them are coming to you with a lot of information that's not organized, or possibly a lot of anecdotal information that is not to
Right.
be implemented. Is that kind of hard to untangle
Right.
sometimes with women that age and even women in middle age?
I do believe that this is a wonderful time in medicine. I mean, there's obviously a lot that needs to change, you know, in the food system and
Hmm.
whatnot. as far as environmental toxins, but this is a time where social media has been positive. There are a lot of we'll call them medical influencers out there that are reputable physicians that my patients come to me saying they're already aware of some of these things.
Okay.
And the same thing, again, I'll use my daughter, just through social media, TikTok, whatever, she's asking me questions of things that she's hearing through social media that I can clarify for her.
Yes.
If I didn't know it, obviously I would take her somewhere. But I agree. I think social media has been advantageous for people
Yes.
to want to understand what's going on in their body versus a once a year visit, and they didn't even know what to share.
And now we'll take a moment for the giving intermission. Don't fast forward, your karma is watching. Before we jump back in, I want to pause for our giving intermission and shine a light on a really meaningful organization here in Atlanta, My Sister's House, part of Atlanta Mission. My Sister's House is a shelter dedicated to women and children experiencing homelessness, offering so much more than a roof over their heads. It's a place of restoration, providing meals, counseling, childcare, medical care, life skills training, and support towards stable housing and employment. What I love most about their mission is the emphasis on dignity, compassion, and long-term transformation. Every woman and child is met with care, respect, and the belief that a better future is possible. If this speaks to you and you'd like to learn more or get involved, I encourage you to visit atlantamission.org/my-sisters-house. Even taking a moment to read about their work helps spread awareness, and support truly changes lives. Okay, so Melissa, I was at the grocery store the other day and I grabbed, just on impulse, there was a very popular women's magazine. It caught my eye, and on the cover it said something like the A to Z of menopause. I'm like, okay. So I'm in perimenopause. I grabbed the magazine and I decided to enjoy it on a road trip while Justin was driving us somewhere over the holiday. It was 96 pages of like fear. I'm like sitting there reading
Right.
the A to Z. I
Right.
really wanted to have a good knowledge. Also, I thought it would be helpful for our conversation today. I'm going to get prepared for my conversation with Dr. Parker. But whoa, I felt scared after reading all of that. And so for women, I'm not the only one who probably felt that way after reading that magazine. I'm sure they want us to feel empowered with information. And I'm glad there's so much of a conversation now about menopause and
Right.
perimenopause. But how do you like take that fear and anxiety level down with all these women who are like really trying to brace themselves and give them kind of a positive experience, um, and a proactive experience to help them get through it all with you?
You're exactly right. That's usually how the visit starts, is with this sense of gloom and doom.
Okay.
And, the way she relays the symptoms, and she's got her list written down. And usually the first thing I say is, I just want you to know this is fixable.
Okay.
Because part of the thought process is they think it's not fixable and that
Okay.
this is the way they have to feel and whatnot. So just kind of right from the get-go, it's like, this is fixable and we just need to evaluate. We'll just start with your hormones, get those labs back, and then we'll put together a plan of care. And the second thing I tell women, because I know they're about to ask this question, is, well, I've been afraid of hormones because they cause cancer.
Yeah.
And that is a very antiquated thought. It is not true. And so I, right off the get-go, before we even do the labs, tell them hormones do not cause cancer. They are, we produce them for a reason. They are supposed to exert certain functions, and the goal is to replace those hormones forever. So,
Okay.
so usually we start kind of with that, just putting them one step down.
Yes.
And then that kind of has them ready to go. Like, what do I do next?
How many labs do you typically have a woman get? How does that process work? Are they having to donate like a gallon of their blood for you to analyze everything? I'm very curious how that works.
Yes, I came across, just again in my own journey, a lab panel. It is self-pay. It was created by Dr. Mark Hyman. He was chief of medicine of the Cleveland Clinic. He left to start his own functional medicine clinic decades ago. He currently is leading a movement to, again, look at medicine from a broader, deeper perspective. but he was frustrated with the ability to do this with insurance labs because they
Okay.
only cover so many per year. So he created his own lab panel called Function Health. It's probably 106 labs. It starts with some autoimmune screening, heavy metals screening, total hormones, vitamins, fish oil, expanded lipid panels, not the short lipid panel, expanded thyroid, not the short thyroid, expanded metabolic, which is all about blood sugar. So I do request that my patients do this, and they know that when they sign up, they can see it in the link that there is something going to be involved, that they will pay for these expanded labs. But I have never had one patient disappointed in doing this lab panel. But that's our starting point, is let's do these
Okay.
labs and let's talk about it. I get excited
I
when
bet
I
you
get
do.
these labs back to review with patients. The patients are excited and scared when they sometimes are seeing, things that say out of range. But after about 4 weeks, we get the total labs back, and she and I engage again in another hour and a half conversation. So we actually take the time to go over, things that are normal and why that's great, and things that are abnormal, and now we take it to that next level. Like, what do we do about this? um and then usually there's follow up as far as abnormal labs, and I am also, just so rewarded when I see these numbers improve. But
Yes.
she is more excited when she sees her numbers improve.
And so is the plan of care sometimes some traditional medicine and then some supplements?
Yeah, traditional would mean, usually in my scope, prescription hormones.
Mm-hmm.
Um, most of the things that I might find as far as vitamin deficiencies would require, some sort of supplementing. But we also try and give some food suggestions as well.
Okay.
Um, and and yes, on further repeat of labs, if some of these holistic suggestions for her to try that may include supplements, lifestyle changes, aren't seemingly working, then I go back to prescriptions, of medications that are tried and true.
Yes.
So the answer might be that we're not always going first to medications, other than the hormones, but that doesn't mean we wouldn't go to medications if
Right.
we weren't getting the results.
And so when I've thought about dipping my toes into functional medicine, I kind of worried, oh, I don't know if I want to go that deep, but that might give me some anxiety, like opening up a whole can of worms.
Yep.
And I don't want to feel like I've got a problem with everything in every area. Do you have patients that feel nervous about opening a can of worms, or is it more of an empowerment type of vibe? Do you see both? How do you manage the two different kinds of personalities?
I think if they're there, they're not afraid to know. Like, they're there
Okay.
for a reason, because they do understand when they sign up that there's going to be this expanded lab panel.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so what I'm finding is there's a certain mindset of someone by the time they come to me, they are ready to figure it out. And
Yeah.
and a lot of them anticipate that there's going to be abnormalities. They know they don't feel good. They know
Okay.
their weight is an issue. They know they feel inflamed, and they want to figure out why that is. Uh, so yes, most people want to figure out what's going on.
Yeah. I want to take the bull by the horns. When you discover what needs to be done, in some cases, how soon might a woman start to feel better once she's started to implement the prescribed care that you give?
Yeah, again, this is another part of the rewarding part of my new practice. The communication I get from my patients, whether through the portal or emails or whatnot, I can share with them that they should, for certain symptoms, start to feel better by 3 to 4 weeks time frame.
That's amazing.
Um, and if they are feeling better, believe me, they're actually sending me an email just to let me know, Dr. Parker, I'm sleeping better. My night sweats are gone. Thank you so much. And then if she's not quite feeling it, that's when we reassess with more labs. It
Okay.
may not be the expanded big panel, but we reassess, and we keep tweaking until we get her feeling better.
And then in some cases, if there is a certain degree of tweaking that needs to happen, but you're not really getting her there, then you certainly have all of this experience where you can refer to colleagues in other specialties and just kind of help them to to be almost like a concierge, right? They've gotten such a deep look from you that you can kind of help them navigate the space, I'm sure.
I'm glad you brought that up as far as referring out, because I have found that another part of functional medicine and integrative medicine is physicians who are attending these conferences on anti-aging and longevity and hearing what the current research is suggesting. And that often is about changing lab ranges. So I have found that in the past, I would refer someone out maybe to an endocrinologist for a certain thyroid number and find
Yes.
that some endocrinologists are staying within the current lab range that functional thinks should be a different lab range. And it's the same thing, whether it's cholesterol, blood sugar. So functional medicine through our education, we tend to maybe look at the ranges a little differently. And
Yes.
that means we're giving suggestions, maybe medicating if we needed to earlier, than waiting for those numbers to get further down the road when she really doesn't feel good.
You know, I used an analogy with my daughter. She was curious about how you work, and I was explaining what I thought I understood functional to be compared to traditional medicine. And I said, so my daughter loves cars. And I said, Arden, it's almost like if your car runs, but it sounds like crap, that might still be
Yeah,
considered in range on your blood work or on your
right.
labs. And if you
Correct.
are
Correct.
embarrassed that your car runs but sounds like crap and you'd like it to not sound like crap so that when you pull up to a party you got your nice car and it sounds all good, then optimizing your health and figuring out what needs to be done to change it can occur through functional medicine. And she liked the car analogy. And so just the
Good.
optimization, is that supported by doctors out there? Do traditional doctors value what you all are doing in the functional space to optimize people's health? Or is there any skepticism or critique about that? Like, oh, it's really not necessary. I'm very curious what you hear.
It's a wonderful analogy to know that the truth of the matter for the human body, we often feel the symptoms before the lab numbers go out. And that goes back to functional medicine, thinking maybe we should treat when she's having the symptoms because it sounds like this is what's happening, even though the lab numbers don't always, the current lab numbers don't maybe suggest it should be treated.
Because the labs in that case would actually show as normal or being in range and just not catch the attention of certain doctors?
Correct. Yes, that happens all the time, especially in insulin resistance, in certain vitamin levels, certain cholesterol levels, and definitely certain hormone levels. I find that there are specialists in certain fields that actually will not treat till the numbers have crossed out of the range. But yet the science is showing that she could be symptomatic.
Oh gosh, it just makes me feel so discouraged that so much slips through the cracks in the medical system here. I'm just really thankful that we have people like you who are going deeper.
I alluded to this a little bit earlier. I'm just so glad that women are able to be educating themselves through different avenues. And then they can go back to the doctor and let their doctor kind of sift through what's accurate and inaccurate. But yes, just finding a provider that will listen to you and acknowledge your symptoms, and maybe do some investigation, can happen at your regular provider's office and or function, but functional medicine tends to be a broader look at what's going on.
So a few days ago, I posted on Instagram that you and I were going to have our conversation this morning, and I asked if anyone had questions for you, if they've been curious about functional, to submit them. So I have a few. Are you okay if I ask you?
Absolutely.
Lauren in North Carolina, she said, in your opinion, what is the number one preventative measure to increase our health span?
I don't know that I can say that there is one, because the human body is amazing, and things that we need to produce for the body to function. So really I would be like, you have to have proper hormone balance, and hormones could be the ovarian hormones, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. Then we have thyroid hormone. We have adrenal hormones like cortisol, DHEA. So proper hormone evaluation and balance is important. The next thing I would say is just after analysis of the two most common causes of morbidity, which is illness, is going to be things related to cholesterol and blood sugar. And a lot of those changes can be outside of our will. That's another thing. It's that even though I have women think that they're eating a clean diet and doing their exercise, they silently do not know that they might be having these changes to their cholesterol and blood sugar happening against their will. And there's things to address with that. Um, then there's gut health. There's tying not just the lab work into it, but understanding what's happening, with the gut flora or the bacteria, and things that are now being associated with mood changes, general inflammation, headaches. So it's more than just bloating and cramping. Um, and then I go into cellular aging, which is basically, again, things that we can't test, but research supports what is happening to the aging cell to all of us, and giving suggestions for what we can do for that as well, as current research keeps evolving. So it's kind of broad to say, so I don't think there's one, but you want the total picture.
And you're getting that total picture with 106 labs, and then sometimes additional labs once you've gotten to know the really detailed picture on the patient. Sometimes you might even tack on more labs. Yeah.
Yep, correct.
Quite a detective you are indeed. Okay.
Yes.
Moving on to our next question. Amy in Florida. She asked about using red light masks for anti-aging. Now, I know you don't have an aesthetics practice at Big Sky Anti-Aging, but because you're privy to all of these conversations just in the world that you're in, do you like it for yourself? And have you had some conversations with the women that you treat about it? I'm sure they're all picking your brain all the time about that sort of thing.
Yes, I get asked all the time, what do you do, Dr. Parker? For we'll call it the aesthetic component of aging, and one of those is
Right.
red light therapy as a collagen stimulator. We share stuff about hair health, skin health, collagen, the benefits of
Yeah.
detoxing with infrared saunas. So I share things like that with her for sure, even though I don't have that as a component in my practice.
Right. But are you a fan? Do you like it? I've been wanting to get one of those red light masks for my face.
No, I love it. Yeah, no, I love the red lights, so I utilize it
Yeah.
myself. But yes, it's all
Okay.
about collagen. It's all about hormones, as far as skin wellness and detox.
Okay. Jessica in Atlanta. She said, I'm still learning. I'm curious about cortisol. She said, I feel like I wake up burning up and my mind is racing, sans alcohol. I've also read that cortisol is something that can lead to crepey skin.
I think that is needs a broader evaluation, but cortisol absolutely is one of, when I say the total hormone evaluation, it's really more our fight or flight hormone. So when I'm screening with that hormone and it's elevated, we're thinking more energy issues, brain fog issues, weight loss or weight gain issues, and difficulty losing weight. So I don't know exactly that I would say cortisol is what she's referencing, as far as her symptoms, versus there might be something else kind of going on with her hormones, but it's an important hormone to get in the right range. It also controls blood sugar dysfunction. So yes, cortisol is important to evaluate, and that also, on a side note, is often not ordered through another primary care provider, because insurance typically won't cover a cortisol. So it is something that a woman should request, through her labs.
When you say insurance typically won't cover cortisol, are you talking about insurance sometimes won't cover running labs to test cortisol levels?
But yeah, that's the frustration again that I was having at my other practice. I knew when I would order some of those labs, I would get the calls back from the patients all the time that cortisol wasn't covered, DHEA wasn't covered, insulin wasn't covered, which is a shame because that's part of her total evaluation,
Gosh.
and possibly the cause of some of her symptoms.
Wow. I mean, all those years of feeling like you had to bang your head against the wall, your head must be very happy now. It's not getting banged against the wall anymore. You can get all the answers that you need to help your patients.
Yeah, no, I'm a happy provider.
All right. And then Amy from Florida had one more question. She was curious about creatine. What are your thoughts on creatine? I mean, for me, when I think about creatine, I think about the trainer at the gym down there at the beach with the big muscles, scooping some powder into a smoothie. So women in middle age, we're using creatine for what?
Back to the longevity world, there is a lot of data out there supporting that the brain needs creatine. It's
Mm,
part of cellular energy. So it's not just thinking of it as muscle, but it's about creating energy in the body from a cellular level. So creatine is definitely one of the core things that I think every woman should have in her daily regimen. Finding the right options, can be a little bit confusing.
sure.
Um, I try and share with her some reputable brands, to purchase from. For example, Thorne, has a creatine. Pure has a creatine. These are two reputable companies with third-party testing.
Okay.
Um, and my only other advice is, with respect to anything she might take supplement wise, or creatine, she should order it directly from the company. There's
Okay.
obviously these counterfeit options that are out there that are sometimes not tested for purity. So whatever she orders, I would go straight to the company's website and order from them.
Well, and I think also for the younger women out there, I think so many younger kids are ordering things off of Amazon, of course, but also TikTok, and that
Yes,
scares me.
yes,
So I
correct.
think you're absolutely right to make that very important point. And when you think about if you were going to a traditional doctor and the doctor ran a bunch of labs and said, okay, you're low on this, you're low on that, you need to take this, this, and this when it comes to supplements, if that's part of the conversation, understanding what type of delivery method or what type of product or how you fit that into your routine is not the kind of guidance you're typically going to get in a traditional doctor's office setting. And I do know that the guidance that you give your patients with the business model that you have is one that is so supportive, and you're able to explain, look, you can purchase this one or that one, and if you use this one, you make a smoothie out of it, and you're giving all kinds of real life practical advice on how to add these things to your program. Thank goodness, because
Yeah.
it's a lot to process.
Yeah, and it's excellent point. And my women coming are saying that they show me what they're taking. We review what they're taking. We realize she's taking things that overlap. So
Interesting.
kind of being on your own supplement journey may not be the correct journey to be on. So being with a provider where you can review them and
Yeah.
get proper suggestions as to, do I need this one? Do I not? Which ones can I remove? That should be part of the discussion too.
Exactly. So a lot of efficiencies in place. This has been wonderful. It's been
Yeah,
very
thank
helpful
you.
for me to get a deeper understanding of how functional medicine works. And I'm very excited for you with this new
Thank you.
pathway in your profession. And I can't wait to maybe have some more conversations with you if you're willing, because this is
Yeah.
an ongoing conversation about middle-aged women's health.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. It's with women like you and other women sharing information, for all of us to understand. Like, we don't have to take no, we don't have to be told we're normal when we don't feel normal.
Right.
And so thank you for putting this podcast together, to help educate, your listeners, and hopefully they'll share that information as well.
Yes, I hope so. All right, so we'll have information about how people can reach out to you, and I hope that there's some nice connections to be made through She Fascinates Me. And thank you for supporting me with my process here as well, and delivering some really good quality conversations about things that matter to us. So
Yeah.
I hope you have a
Well,
great weekend.
thanks for having me. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. So, do you feel like you can breathe a little easier now? I have truly enjoyed working with Melissa so far, and if you're feeling like you might want to reach out, send her a message and check her out at bigskyantiaging.com. I have a feeling you'll walk away feeling more confident and maybe even like you've gained a new friend like I have. She's such a special woman, and I'm really proud to know her. I'm glad you're still here, and the fact that you are, watching or listening all the way to the end, means you gave me a chance. This is a new podcast, and it was a big leap to create this for you, something real, thoughtful, and meaningful. We live in one of the most networked societies in history, but somehow we've become the least connected. That's the magic of She Fascinates Me, bringing together real women, real stories, and the quiet alchemy of change. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow or subscribe wherever you watch or listen, and take a moment to leave a quick rating or review. It really helps more people find the show, and it makes it possible for me to keep bringing you conversations like this one. And connect with me on social at She Fascinates Me. Every follow, share, and kind word helps this community of fascinating women grow. I'm so glad we're connected now.